Scott and I were good friends and we were working together at Splashdown Waterslide Park. We spent several summers working there, started talking about having a little adventure, and we thought, let's go see if we can ride our bikes all the way to Seattle. We had Scott's dad drop us off at the clock tower in Riverfront Park. Let's start at one landmark and we'll ride till we get to the Space Needle. First day of the trip was exciting. We were a little nervous. Rode out of downtown, rode up the Sunset Hill, and kind of started wondering what we were getting ourselves into. We're already going uphill. What is it going to be like when we get to the Cascades and we really have to start climbing? That first day was probably as far as I had ever ridden in one day before, or close to it. We rode to the town of Wilbur and beyond, and there's just nothing out there. And we just found a place by the side of the road where nobody was going to bother us and pitched a little tent and cooked our food, watched the sunset, and went to bed. Between Spokane and the Cascades is where you get in the shadow of the Cascades, the rain shadow, which is why you get dry land. Riding on the highway with farmland on each side is pretty nice. Sunny, bright, hot August weather. Just rolling road all the way through with wheat on each side. The towns are pretty far apart. They seem closer together when you're in a car, but riding your bike turns out to be a long way between seeing people. Back then, we didn't worry about where we were going to stay, and we didn't fear that anything was going to happen to us. We just stopped when we got near Soap Lake and found a nice place to sleep right near the side of the road. After Soap Lake, we started heading down into the gorge, right down into the Columbia Gorge, stopped at some scenic overlooks. Looked out at how the Columbia River had at one time gouged out this huge canyon through the middle of the state. Went and crossed over the Columbia River into Vantage and started heading up the other side. This was going to be the start of actually going up into the Cascades and climbing up the mountains that I had been kind of nervous about getting to. It just was continuous at the same angle, always uphill and always at the same angle. And as the day got hotter, it just got to be really, really difficult. Pretty soon, the wind started picking up and it was blowing down that canyon, probably blowing 20 miles per hour or so. As slow as I was going, I started hearing this little annoying clicking sound, and I couldn't figure out what was making that noise. And finally, I climbed off my bike to look around, and I couldn't see it for a while. And then I was looking at my tires, and I finally realized it was so hot out that the road was melting, and all the little bits of gravel in the asphalt were sticking to my tires, building up until they were actually bumping against the side of my bike. After that long slog up the canyon, we pretty quickly reached Ellensburg. Scott had a friend that lived in Ellensburg, so we pitched a tent and slept in their front yard. Got up the next morning and started our way to Cle Elum. We had as much or as little time as we wanted to do our trip. Didn't have to be done at a certain time. So we took a short day, rode just from Ellensburg to Cle Elum to another friend of Scott's who lived on the Bar 41 ranch. And we just camped out outside on the ranch. The next day it was out to continue our slog up through the Cascades, climb them into the mountain pass, over Snoqualmie Pass, and continue our trudge toward Seattle and our ultimate destination, the Seattle Space Needle. Riding along I-90 gets to be noisy. You get a lot of wind off of all the trucks, but the trucks didn't really bother us. As we came down the other side of the mountain after Snoqualmie Pass, it was mostly riding your brakes. So from Snoqualmie down all the way to Bellevue just was pretty pleasant compared to the climbing we'd done ever since Spokane. As we got near the city of Bellevue, we started noticing construction signs, and then we see a sign and it says, "Bicycles must exit." Well, that can't be good. Where are we supposed to do? It's not very easy to do on a bicycle. But we take the exit, and not far off the exit, we find a state patrol office. And a human being came on the speaker, and we explained we were on our bicycles and wanted to ride across Lake Washington to get to Seattle. So the lady on the other line says, "Well, it would be illegal as well as dangerous to go across the bridge." Hearing that, we felt like we had pretty much ridden the part of the ride that was important to us. And our ride didn't actually end at the Seattle Space Needle. It ended quietly and unexcitedly in Bellevue.